Conversations from the front lines of recruiting. This is Hireside Chats. Join us as we delve into the world of recruitment and explore the latest trends, challenges, opportunities, and insights from the best in the business. Get inspired by industry veterans and discover the secrets to building powerful talent functions from their experiences. Whether you're a CEO, a seasoned HR professional, a growing business looking to scale, or someone just starting in the field, there's something for everyone. Ready for the ultimate recruitment power-up? Let's go!
Hello, this is your host, SatJ, and welcome to another episode of Hireside Chats, a Diamond Pick exclusive podcast that brings together insights, views, and news from the front lines of recruiting. Today, we are delving into an exciting topic, highlighting the focus on effective leadership habits for high-performing teams. Most of us work in complex organizations that are trying to grow and succeed. Regardless of the growth strategy in play, success is only possible with leaders at the forefront who are highly capable of identifying, attracting, leading, and developing high-performing employees. Disruptive leadership is all about instigating behavioral change, starting with adopting high-performing habits and emanating them throughout their spheres of influence. Habit-forming leadership drives and sustains employee high performance for long-term success. In today's episode, we will unravel the concept of habit-forming leadership, providing actionable guidance for leaders striving to attain their objectives. And joining us today is a very good friend of mine, Vivek Vijayan, who's the founder of TinyChange, the go-to brand for top-rated planners and journals on India's e-commerce platforms. Vivek is an expert in this field, and he has over a decade of experience in HR innovative talent practices. And Vivek has earned a lot of industry-wide recognition and is a regular feature on Gartner and Forbes. His significant contributions revolve around the development of highly effective planning tools, which have been adopted by thousands of individuals across the globe to enhance their careers, overall well-being, and mindfulness. Hello, Vivek, and welcome to Hireside Chats.
Thank you, Sadish, for the gracious welcome. I'm very much honored to join Hireside Chats. And let me also take this opportunity to congratulate the entire Diamond Pick team for the commendable work you're doing on the talent space in such a brief period. And it's always great to connect with you at a personal level because your mentorship during our time together at Cognizant had such a profound impact on me. And I truly cherish all those interesting projects that we worked together on as well. So yeah, I'm eagerly looking forward to this discussion today on habit-forming leadership. I'm deeply passionate about this topic, as you know. So let's dive in and make this an interesting conversation.
Great. So, Vivek, I'm sure you'll agree with me that we're all creatures of habit, and by thoughtfully selecting and regularly practicing certain habits, we can master high-performing skills that lead to success. Now, let's start by understanding the transformative power of habits and their significance on leadership, a space that you've been focused on through the TinyChange organization. So, can you tell us what is the significance of habit-forming leadership on shaping effective leaders and creating high-performing teams? And specifically, why is it crucial for sustained long-term performance?
Great. And you're absolutely bang on, right? We are all about habits. It's like, a cup of chai in the morning that we have as an habitual thing, or using a certain playlist that gets us going while we are in the work mode. All these are habits. And the same goes for leadership too. So leadership habits are not just routines that somebody follows. They are the essence of who a leader is, who you truly are. And that really shines through in how you lead organizations. I'd like to imagine leadership as a building. If leadership is a building, the habits are the bricks. So when leaders make it a habit to say, actively listen to their team members, it creates an environment where everyone feels heard. And the ripple effect is amazing, right? So you can see managers start emulating the leader and even junior employees feeling empowered. I came across this interesting study recently on HBR, which found out that the best leaders who were rated highly in their leadership effectiveness also displayed strong routines in their communication and decision making. At TinyChange, we create habit forming products which help people transform their lives through the power of tiny changes. So we have spoken to like hundreds and thousands of customers, both individual and corporate. And what we've realized over time is that even small positive habits that you embed in your life can boost your whole game. You may be a CEO or an intern or a housewife, it doesn't matter. It has tremendous impact. So it's a bit like cricket, right? A good captain doesn't only focus on winning the current match, but also pays attention in developing habits within their team members, like staying healthy or disciplined, especially for the young players of the team. And that goes a long way in their long term success. So, in short, good habits make great leaders and strong teams, just like the example of a bamboo tree. Such teams can bend, but they won't break no matter the challenges that they face.
Lovely. So Vivek, can you tell me, in the current business context, where there's so much of uncertainty, what are some of these key habits that leaders should have that are worth emulating? And again, let's kind of look at it from the current business context. Are there some habits that you can share with our viewers?
Yeah, glad you asked. So it's all about focus, FOCUS. So we coined this acronym sometime last year for some of our leadership development programs, and it stands for flexibility, optimism, communication, unwavering commitment, and self awareness. So let's just get into each of the term and understand it in detail. Let's start with flexibility, the first one. You need to develop the habit of staying flexible if you want to be a great leader. We know that no 2 days in leadership are the same, right? So being adaptable is a very crucial element. Say one of your team members suddenly falls sick. Being flexible means that you can quickly redistribute tasks without breaking a sweat. So stop saying your team that this is how it is done here and start opening up your mind to new ideas from them. The next one, which is O, which stands for optimism. As leaders, you need to start developing the habit of looking at the bright side of things. An optimistic leader sees challenges as opportunities. They see failures as lessons. So, this mindset not only keeps you resilient, but also uplifts the entire team. So, start using every crisis that comes your way to practice thinking optimistically, and slowly it becomes your second nature. The third element, which is the letter C, stands for communication. Developing the habit of communicating effectively to the team can be a game changer, as you know. And it's easy to overlook, but vital for pretty much everything, right? And I always look up to you as a leader who has amazing communication skills, which has really helped your team develop well, come together, and play as a good, effective unit. So, what I've also realized that effective communication eradicates misunderstanding and it fosters an environment of openness. In fact, there are research studies that shows that clear communication is the number one trait which employees value in a leader, and it's ranked even above good pay. The next one is U, which stands for unwavering commitment. That's like your North Star, your unwavering dedication to the team and the task at hand. Your team needs to see and feel that you're all in. You've given your 100%. Commitment is also really contagious. Once a leader sets the standard, it's much easier for the team to follow suit. And the last but not least is S, which stands for self awareness. Let's imagine a car without a rear view mirror. Self awareness helps you understand not just your own strengths, but also the areas that needs improvement. It's like an inside job and one that reflects outside. So I'll say self aware leaders are proven to be more effective and more respected in every corporate setting. So there you go. So the model focus is a pocket sized formula, in my opinion, to keep in mind what are some of the habits that leaders need to develop to be effective in the current situation.
Thank you, Vivek. I'll remember focus. Very nice acronym. I've been very impressed with the book Atomic Habits. I'm sure you would have read it. Thousands of our listeners would have read it. There are some very interesting popular quotes from the book. One is, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, which I'm sure you will come across. And with the same habits, you'll end up with the same results, is the other. And with better habits, anything is possible. So the power of habits can certainly not be understated, and you kind of alluded to that. But how do leaders create and propagate this amongst their teams? It's easier said than done. Uh, so one of the things I've been intrigued, and I want to ask you this because you do a lot of leadership programs for people. So how can leaders cultivate the right high performing habits that you described and ensure that they drive their teams to success? And in addition to that, are there any useful tips that you can give, like some daily actions that leaders should have to help these teams kind of pick up these habits and start living them?
Great. You know, there's a saying that habits are like planting seeds. You water them, give them sunlight, and before you know it, over a period of time, you've got this amazing garden. So that's exactly what leaders also need to do. You cultivate the right habits, not just within yourself, but also within your teams. If you're looking to cultivate high performing habits, some of the examples are given in Atomic Habits as well, as a leader, and pass them on to your team, it's worthy considering a simple, actionable 3-step model, which I call as P3: plan, practice, and propagate. This is something that we use in different other situations too, but it's pretty relevant in this context. Everything starts with a plan. You need a solid plan if you want to develop great habits within yourself or for your team. It's about identifying habits that will make the task that you're going to handle as a leader easier and more effective. In my previous role as a head of a global HR sub function, one of the most impactful habits that we cultivated as a team together was radical transparency. We planned out how to make that as a part of our daily stand-up meetings, and I can say it paid off dividends, pretty well over a period of time. Now, planning is the first step. You need to obviously practice it, right? So you need to see how it works yourself first before putting it out to your team, what the challenges are, how it benefits you. There are numerous studies that have shown that daily journaling can be effective for self-awareness, which is also one of the items in the focus model that we discussed earlier as well. So practicing out yourself, things like journaling to become more self-aware, can open up areas. It can bring in new understanding, which then you can utilize to help your team also build. So you plan out the good habits, you practice it out yourself, and then try it out within your team, and then get into the next stage of propagating that habit. So as a great leader, that's the most important stage. So this is where your leadership qualities shine. You become a mirror that reflects these high performing habits. And just remember, the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. I think it's an MIT study that said that leaders that focused on cultivating positive team habits found a 25% increase in their overall team productivity. So that's a model that leaders can use to kind of inculcate great habits within them, plan it out, test it out yourself, and then propagate it. Now, what are the daily habits that you can take, which is your second part of the question, to kind of inculcate this process? You know that this is how you need to do it, but on daily life, how do you do it? So there's a famous model called ACTS, ACTS, which stands for awareness, consistency, trust, and systems thinking. So the first step, whenever you want to inculcate any habit, and when I'm talking about habit, it may be for yourself or for your team. The first step is awareness. Without self-awareness, leaders cannot identify which habits need to be cultivated, right? A daily practice could be, say, taking 5 minutes at the end of your day to reflect on what worked and what didn't. It's like checking your rearview mirror before changing lanes while you're driving, right? So you know when it is a safe time to move forward. So that's about awareness. The second one is consistency. You know what what habits need to be picked up. It can be, say, talking to your team on a regular basis, maybe even just 5 minutes, right? Or having a stand-up meeting. You slowly inculcate that habit, make it a part of your team's habit or second nature as well. but you need to consistently implement it. That's when the second element of consistency come in. Consistency turns daily actions into habits. A daily action here could be committing to a non-negotiable 30-minute focused work session first thing in the morning. In Atomic Habits, James Clear talks a lot about that. You must have heard about this research that it takes at least 60 days for an action to be converted into a habit, and at least 6 months for that to become your lifestyle. So consistency is an important thing. And the third thing is about trust, which is like a steering wheel that helps you navigate relationships within your team as a leader. So daily habits for building trust could be as simple as making sure you listen more than you speak in meetings, or you give constructive, regular feedback. So all these things builds the element of trust within your team, which is very crucial. And you must have come across tons of studies about how trust is an important factor in building great teams as a leader. The last part, which is an interesting one, is about systems thinking. It can be dashboards, it can be your own KPIs, it can be your own goals. If you have a system, if you have a framework, you have a set of KPIs, you know what exactly needs to be measured, which helps you tag some of the habits that you want to develop to some of your KPIs too. So if your KPI is to build trust within your team, or improve the output, one of the things can be on a regular basis check how much your progress is. So habits are nothing but wheels for that car that drives off, your leadership car. And on a regular basis, you need to follow these things about being aware, consistently implementing the habits that you want to inculcate within your team, building trust within your team so that it sticks, and using models or systems so that things become easier and clearer rather than by just using a judgment.
I should really appreciate and acknowledge the very simple way in which you've articulated this concept. That's great. Now, let's talk a little bit about TinyChange, the organization that you founded and you're running. Can you walk us through how do you how does TinyChange support and encourage habit formation? I would be interested to know about it. And also, it'll be great if you can share with us a real life example TinyChange has come across where significantly transformed either an organizational effectiveness or a leader's effectiveness through your interventions.
Great. So at TinyChange, we're not just talking the talk; we're also walking the walk, to say, right. So imagine trying to run a fitness center, but you're munching donuts every single day. Doesn't work, right? So like that, we need to use some of the things that we're talking about in our planners, in some of the training programs that we do ourselves first is very important. So let me pick up a couple of examples, what we have done on this area and what we've realized. So the first thing, we have daily trackers and SOPs, standard operating procedures, for every single thing here. We have a small team, so it's very important to kind of be as productive as possible. So right from a new product launch to even cleaning our office coffee machine weekly, we have SOPs laid out for everything. So that's the first step, I believe, in creating the right habit in doing a certain thing. So my thought process was that if you're helping our clients build positive habits through our products, we better be doing it ourselves. So that was the starting point for some of these things. So daily trackers give us a snapshot of our team's productivity, well-being, the number of clients we reached out to, and even happiness levels. Some of these things we track on a daily basis because we want to see how it works before it goes into some of our products. So it's like having a fitness tracker on your watch, but for your work life. And our SOPs are like recipes, I believe, for some of the gourmet dishes that we prepare, which are our products. And they also ensure that everyone is aligned in the team into a common goal and no one is just winging it, even for the smallest task. So that's number one. And the second part is a habit of learning on a daily basis. Remember the science experiments back in school where you mixed vinegar and baking soda and called it a volcano, right? So we do like our own versions of such volcano creations here, a little bit more complex. So we dive a lot into academic journals, publications, podcasts, and anything that we can get our hands onto for a fresh perspective. And we have this Notion board, which is a collaborative tool that we use within our team every day. And before lunch, each team member needs to find out one interesting data from research or from what our competitors are doing or from a totally different business and note it down on the idea bank section on the Notion board. They also need to write down how to implement that idea, how it can be impactful either for our business or for some of the products that we're developing, etc. And what we do is we find out one best idea at the end of every week, typically on a Friday, and that idea donor gets a small reward. So many of the ideas that we implement in our products, I can take the example of this QR codes that we started adding in some of our products. We have this product called 100-day goal journal within which we started adding QR codes. So if you're talking about a concept, you can just scan the QR code, get into a video and understand more about it. So that came as a part of this Notion board, the idea bank, and it was quite successful and some of customers loved it. So if you're out there thinking about improving habits within your team, I'd like to say that it's more of a marathon and not a sprint. So, on a daily basis, you need to think about small ways in which you can improve certain processes, certain actions, put a structure to it, and then help them convert into a habit. So, that's very important. And while you're in the journey of converting a certain action that you want your team members to take into a habit, obviously think about things like how do you reward when they're doing something positive, how do you reward them so that it sticks. So those are a couple of areas that I can think of within TinyChange what we have done. uh, and you were asking about examples from others, right? So we do work with other clients also from some leadership development trainings and stuff. And we have seen wherever clients show interest in developing habits within their leaders that leading to great impact. Great world. And I'm moving out from my zone into what great leaders do. Elon Musk is my all-time hero. And some of the companies he have developed kind of speaks the story of why he's such a great person. So I remember this story from SpaceX when SpaceX was just getting started. They faced a huge hurdle. Rockets were astronomically expensive. So most companies would look at the price tag and will completely give up the notion of building it. They don't fetch that much funding from outside. Not Elon Musk. He's a totally different man. That's why people say that he probably is an alien. So he took a different approach using what we call as first principles thinking. So it's about breaking down a complex idea into its very, very smallest entity and then thinking from ground up. So what he did is instead of accepting the high cost of rockets as it is, he kind of broke it down to the most basic components like the metal, the labor, the engineering time required. And then he calculated the individual cost of everything and then found out that, oh, these are certain areas like say, vendors, engineering things, not having fabricated materials, etc., is leading to high cost. So if you are able to solve that problem there, we'll be able to build the rocket grounds up. So he built it, and then the rest is history. So these are some of the examples that I can think of where it's proven that building, inculcating, and developing great habits within your team can fetch great long-term returns.
Lovely. Very interesting. So, Vivek, now let's talk about our own fraternity, the HR fraternity that we represent. So, can you suggest any actionable insights, steps, productivity hacks, ideas for our own fraternity and for our HR leaders to implement these habits and actionable solutions? Do you have anything specific for our fraternity?
Yes, I do. So I always think about an HR manager or leader like a chef. You are supposed to prepare a gourmet meal, a great meal. You have all the ingredients available with you. Talent, the best and the biggest resource is there with you. And you just need the right recipe to bring it all together. That's when you become a great HR professional. So keeping that analogy in mind, let me just touch upon some of the things that you can do as an HR leader to one, become a better HR person, second, build better HR teams, and the third and the most important thing, help your business become better through the power of habits. So the first thing I want to talk about is something called as a habit audit. It's a small step, and it does exactly what it sounds like. Identify the habits that are already in place in your organization. The reason why I'm suggesting this is because you cannot fix a problem if you don't know it exists. So think of it like a doctor's diagnosis before starting any treatment. So let's take an audit, understand these are the habits followed by my employees or my team's employees at this current point in time. Some of them are positive, some of them negative. These are the ones they don't follow now, which I'd like them to develop or follow. These are the ones that I want them to cut short or slowly take away from their corporate life. So that's a habit audit. Now, second part of the puzzle is about goal alignment. So you need to ensure that the habits you picked for development or for cutting off from your organization are in alignment with your organizational business goals. So this could mean a major rehaul at times or minor tweaks. One of the tech startups in Bangalore that we worked with for a 2-day leadership workshop had a goal to improve collaboration. So, among all the things, what they tried doing was implementing a no email day on every Tuesday, where all communication had to be in person or just via video calls, no emails at all that day. And surprisingly, in 3 to 4 months' time, they said that it boosted their overall internet communication by around 30%. So there are many such examples. So the important thing is they understood that collaboration is the problem and they want to develop the habit of more conversations between the employee and their managers and leadership. That's what they're able to find out and implement in the right way. Now, another thing that you can do as an HR manager is to think about pairing habits with skill sets. Now, we worked on things like career architecture, identifying skills for certain roles, etc., etc. So every role we know has a certain set of skills that we need to excel in that role. So if you think of pairing these skills with specific habits, it can take yourself into altogether different positive tangent. Let's take the example for a sales team. It could be the habit of doing daily cold calls or ensuring that you network with so many people every single day. So convert that KPI, that thing that you want to do, and think of how you can make it a habit. So it's like pairing wine with cheese. The right combination elevates the whole experience because once you convert an action into habit, it goes into auto mode. It becomes a second nature. So HR managers need to constantly think about what are those areas that is very crucial for my business, which are currently being portrayed as actions, which or chores, which employees might think that it's a difficult thing to do every day. How can we convert that into habit so it becomes a second nature? That's how we do things. That's not even a question. We heard about certain companies who are completing things on time. If you have appraisal time, there are companies where appraisal times get extended 10 or 15 times, but there are companies where that's not even a question because that's a habit. That's the only way your leaders do it. That right from your vice president to everyone down does complete things on time, and that's being communicated. There are guardrails kept to ensure that there is no other way to do it. So people tend to do it. It's no longer a chore. That's how things happen. So as HR leaders, I believe it's your responsibility to do a habit audit, understand what are the positive habits that you want to cherish, what are the positive actions that you want to convert to habits, what are the ones which are unhealthy ones for your organization, how can you take it away by making it not so attractive, or rather, building positive habits to work on top of those negative habits. And then link that to the skills that you want to build. And last but not least, I also want to add one more element. It's very important to have a feedback mechanism built into this entire thing. So unless people get that instant replay, like when you're watching a cricket match, you'll get to immediately see replay what worked, what didn't work. So developing a culture where it's very normal to give feedback, may it be positive or negative, instant feedback help everything, and especially if you're building habit, that's a great boost. So I think these are the 4 things that HR managers should focus on to build great habit forming leadership, which can help create habit forming teams.
Wonderful. Very interesting. Now, before we conclude today's episode, Vivek, we would like to ask you a few customary rapid fire questions. And we are looking for very quick and candid responses from your side. So let's begin with the first one. What's the first leadership habit you recommend forming?
I'll say hands down active listening. It's a habit that speaks volumes while you even remain silent. And that's something that many leaders lack, and it's important for leaders to develop, especially in the current context.
Okay. What's your favorite personal productivity hack that has impacted your own work?
Oh, that's, I'll say, time blocking. That's something that I started practicing from 2015-16 onwards, which also led to me developing planners and everything. So that has really impacted the way I work. And I've seen a lot of people taking advantage of that simple system of blocking your time and then working towards that. So I'll say time blocking is the best or my favorite personal productivity hack that I practice every day.
Okay. A book or resource that has influenced your approach to habit forming leadership.
Oh, you said at the beginning of the call, right? Atomic Habits, no doubt about that. I believe this book was released around 2 years after we launched TinyChange. But that magnum opus of James Clear put habit formation to such a crystal clear way in a very simplified manner with great examples that it entirely changed the way myself, my team looked at habit forming, how to build great habits within team, how even small changes can lead to great impact on your life if done on a consistent basis, etc. So hands down, Atomic Habit. I still have a copy of that book on my table right here.
Very nice. And the last one, any productivity tip that you learned from a renowned leader and found it very effective, either someone you've worked with or someone you've heard about.
There are quite a few of them, and if you force me to pick one, I'll go with this very interesting one. It's called 5 bar 25 rule. It's by Warren Buffett. It's a very simple one. You take a piece of paper and you list down your top 25 career goals as they come to your mind. Now take another paper and write on one side my goals. And then from the earlier list of 25 goals, take some time and pick up the most important 5 goals. Write these 5 goals down here. Now, turn around the paper, write down another heading, goals to avoid, and then write down the remaining 20 from that list of 25. And
Oh,
these 20 goals are the ones you should avoid at any cost. Completely forget about it and just focus on the other side, the top 5 goals. So many times I've seen that people getting lost into way too many goals. Just having focus on 5 or better 3 goals at max in your career can give you a lot of returns rather than spreading your attention thin among a lot.
super. So, Vivek, during the conversation, you kept talking about referring to planners. So, can you talk a little bit about what are these tiny change planners and how does one access these planners? Do they have to go through a program of sorts to get access to it? How does it work?
Okay, great. So at Tiny Change, our mission is to help everyone achieve their life goals through the power of tiny changes that you do on a daily basis. And we believe that using the compounding nature of tiny changes that you inculcate in your life on a daily basis, you can become healthier, wealthier, happier, and wiser. So these are the 4 pillars that we have within Tiny Change. Uh, and we have a bunch of products, services like training programs, etc., to help you become, improve yourself on these 4 key areas like health, wealth, happiness, and wisdom. Now, we started off with planners, and now we have a huge selection of around 30 different planners. And some of them are for specific target groups like students, but most of them are for working professionals. It's all available in Amazon. You can or go to our website www.tinychange.com or just go to Amazon and search for Tiny Change. And it's a proud moment to say that most of our planners are like bestsellers in the planners and the
Oh,
journals category. So yeah, thanks a lot to the great work done by the overall team. So those are about planners, and recently we have introduced some new products like journals, which you can use to review your day, to kind of pour what you have in your mind. And there's a lot of research that proves that daily journaling, to express your gratitude, to find out what are the best things that happen in your day at the end of the day, even if you take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do it, can have great positive impact on your mind. So there are products like that. We even have some calendars. And we also started off doing small training sessions for some of our corporate clients around the concept of planning, journaling, etc. And we do run very specific ones on demand trainings for corporates around how to utilize the concept of TinyChange within their teams, how to plan your team deliverables or corporate deliverables effectively. And we also create, for some corporates, we worked on with Procter and Gamble recently to create a custom planner for them, for their medium and senior tier leaders, specifically with a certain objective in mind. So we do some of those initiatives too. It's an evolving space and a very dynamic team that we have. So we are in this journey. I believe we've kind of treaded only a little bit. There's still a long way to go in this space. So thank you for giving an opportunity to
Brilliant.
talk about TinyChange.
Brilliant. So thanks a lot, Vivek. With that, we come to the end of another episode of Hireside Chats. From understanding the significance of habit forming leadership that you spoke about to very useful and practical tips, activity hacks, and plenty of takeaways in this conversation, Vivek. And I've always been a big fan of your articulation skills, and you didn't fail me this time as well. A lot of your simple ideas about cultivating high performance habits, achieving excellence in leadership, I'm sure are very, very useful for our listeners. And for all those who tuned in today, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Join us next month once again for another episode as we continue to bring you the latest and the best from the recruitment world. Find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Don't miss a single episode. Subscribe to Hireside Chats today and don't forget to leave a review or share on your socials to help us reach as many ears as possible. Stay tuned and thank you once again very much.
Thanks a lot, Satish. It was my pleasure. Have a good day.